Welcome to what you need to know about money and debt. So, in case it's not obvious, I first want to talk about why money is such an important topic for you to learn. It is important and you should pay attention to it. And you may have been told differently. In fact, I'm guessing most of you did not grow up with a family that talked about money openly. Doctors don't talk about openly. And so I'm going to teach you exactly what money is, and I'm going to teach you what debt really is, and we're going to talk about how to handle your student loan debt. But even if you don't have student loans, you'll want to listen to this talk. So first I want to define what money is. Have you ever thought about that? What is money? Here's how I define it. Money is a tool. It's the tool we use to exchange for value. We want something of value and we use money to pay for it. That's truly all money is. Except most of us were taught some form of, well, money is bad, the pursuit of money is bad, money stresses me out, debt stresses me out. But money is simply a tool. Most of us were taught some version of this. We go to school, we were taught to study hard and then get a good job. The only problem with this is that teaches us to work for money or exchange our time and effort for money. Rich people, wealthy people, whatever you want to call them, they don't actually work for money the way most doctors do. And working for money in itself isn't a problem, but I'm going to make a case for why you should look for alternate ways to make money besides seeing patients. So rich people do not trade time directly for money. They buy and grow assets. So let's define what an asset is in case you don't know what that is. So it's pretty simple. If you think of like the money coming in per month, if you're a resident, you have a salary. And if you're a new attending, then you have a bigger salary, right? So that's your income. And then you have your monthly overhead or monthly expenses. People call this the budget, right? And so an asset is simply something that puts money in your pocket and it goes into the income category, right? A liability is basically the opposite. It takes money out of your pocket and goes into your expense column. Now, most people think of their primary home as an asset, but it's not, because think about it. When you're living in it, it is taking money, it is actively taking money out of your pocket, right? Because you're paying a mortgage, so you don't actually own it anyway. The bank actually owns it. To pay for all repairs, you're paying for utilities and all that kind of stuff. So while you live in a home, it is not an asset, it is a liability. But I digress. Why should you want to be rich? Why should you care about money? Because you might be thinking, don't we make a lot of money once we become attendings? You do. Doctors are definitely paid very well in terms of the average income in the United States. And like I said, the fact that most doctors get paid by trading their skill of seeing patients, doing procedures for money, that in itself isn't a problem. Now, some of you are going to become more entrepreneurial. Anesthesiologists tend to have more options in terms of being more business-minded. And so you might become, a partner in a group or own a surgical suite, things like that. And so, but I want you to understand the limitations of trading your time for money and why it's important to start thinking now, not later, now, about buying and growing assets, also known as creating multiple streams of income. Why should you bother doing this? Because having multiple streams of income provides financial freedom. It will enable you to practice medicine the way you want to. It'll help you remove the parts of your job you don't like. Maybe you're always stuck with working holidays or days that you would rather not work, maybe evening shifts. But if you have the financial flexibility, you can ask for what you want. Not only that, you can live the way you want to. You can go on vacations when you want to, how you want to. And here's something I think a lot of us don't think about as doctors. The more money you make, the more wealth you have, the bigger impact and difference we can actually make in the world. Of course, as doctors, we already make a difference by helping our patients. At the end of the day, money is a tool, and it is a tool that solves a lot of problems. It's financial freedom, and also having a lot of money is really fun. And so you may have heard that most millionaires have 7 streams of income, or most wealthy people. And when I say streams of income, it could be active or passive, right? And so you might be thinking, wow, 7 sounds like a lot, but you have more than you think. Your doctor's salary is your first stream, and that's active, right? Because you have to work to get paid as a doctor. But pretty much every doctor has access to some form of retirement account. So if you're an employee working for a hospital system, you definitely will have access to probably a 403B or a 401k. And that is your second stream. It doesn't seem like a stream because you don't really reap the benefits until much later because you're waiting for compound interest, but it definitely is a second stream of income, at least later down the line. So really the question is, what will be your third stream? And that's what I want you to think about. What will be my third stream of income? It could be passive or active. When I say active, it could be maybe you have a business idea. Maybe you're entrepreneurial minded. Maybe, and here's the beauty of being a doctor, is we not only see a lot of patients, but we're also looking at problems. We have a natural inquisitive mind. We want to solve problems. And so many doctors have created inventions or have solved problems that they see because they can find a solution. And that's what entrepreneurship is all about. Okay, let's talk about debt. For those of you who have debt, I'm guessing you probably don't feel great about it. So I want to define debt. Remember how I defined money. It's a tool that we use to exchange for value. Debt is simply money that you bought. And the price of the money is the interest rate. The more you can think of money and debt neutral, logically, without any emotion, you will make better decisions about money. So let's say this again. Debt is simply money that you bought, and the price of the money is the interest. So for those of you with student loans, you want to be a doctor, and you're willing to buy money to pay for it. Buying money is like credit card debt or taking out a loan for most of us. That's it. And I want to say that this is the case whether you actually have the money or don't have the money. What I mean by that is people actually take on debt even if they could pay for it in cash. And so you might want to ask yourself, why would someone do that? There are many reasons to do that. People who invest in real estate will take out a mortgage for a property because they are leveraging debt. They think of debt as a tool to create wealth. The problem is that society has taught us that debt is bad. It's made most of us fear debt. Most of you probably think debt is bad. You may have heard of terms like good debt and bad debt. There's really no such thing. But because most of us are taught to fear debt and we think debt is bad and we're so stressed out by it, we try to get rid of it as much as possible. How many have you heard that you should pay off your debt, your student loan debt, within 5 years, within 10 years, basically as soon as possible? But here's a problem with that advice. Paying off debt does not make you rich. Now, I know this might sound obvious, but you would think with the fervor that many people will recommend you pay off your debt, it's as if paying off the debt will lead to more money, but it doesn't. And so here's one thing I want you to think about. So any extra money you put towards debt is money that is not going towards buying and growing assets. Buying and growing assets is what makes you rich, not paying off debt. Okay, so here is what I recommend for you. As soon as you start making an income, whether you're a resident or a new attending, you want to create a spending plan. Now, people call this a budget. I personally hate the word budget. It kind of sounds like a money diet, right? But when I say spending plan is you need to know your ins and outs, right? You need to understand your cash flow because you need to figure out, well, how much money do I need to pay for my needs? And really that's just food and shelter. How much money do I want to spend on my wants? And how much money do I want to use for buying and growing assets, aka your third stream of income or more? My personal favorite tool for creating spending plans and carrying them out is called Ynab, Y-N-A-B. It stands for You Need a Budget. And here's why I love it. It is I think, the only budgeting tool where it's not just about looking at how you spent your money. Like most budgeting programs are like postmortems on how you spent. Now that's useful, right? But you want to think about the future-based spending, and that's what Ynab does. Of course, you can look at how you spent your money, but it helps you plan how you want to spend your money. Now, I'm not a big fan of rules of thumb in terms of percentages of how much you should save, etc. But if you're completely new, I think a great starting point is to spend less than 50%. This is your take home income, definitely less than 50% on your needs. So that would be food and shelter and things like that. About 30% on wants, and at least 20% on buying and growing assets. Now, for those of you with student loans, unless you're pursuing a form of public student loan forgiveness, then you're going to want to refinance your loans. Remember, the interest rate is the price of the money, and you can basically lower the price of that money by refinancing. Now, refinancing student loans is very different than buying a home or refinancing a home in case you underwent that ordeal. Much, much easier. In fact, they are hungry for your business. So I usually recommend that you actually apply to multiple banks. The big popular ones are like SoFi, Laurel Road. If you're lucky and live near a bank called First Republic Bank, they're only in certain major cities. You can refinance as low as like 2.25%, which is below 3%. And the reason why you may hear 3% as a magical interest rate is because 3% is the annual percent of inflation, meaning money loses value at 3% a year. So basically, if you're able to buy money at inflation or less, then the cost of the money is very minimal. And there's no cost for refinancing, and you can refinance multiple times. So if you refinance and in a year the interest rates go down again, you can refinance again and not get penalized. Okay, then the next thing for you to do is to make sure your second stream of income, your retirement accounts, is automated. And so for those of you who have access to a retirement account through your job, you're going to at least want to contribute at least to the company match if your employer provides that. What I mean by that is many companies will offer a benefit to employees and literally match dollar for dollar up to a certain point. My first employer actually did this, and I think it was something like, it was a percentage of my salary, like 5%, but it was very generous. It ended up being like $16,000 a year that they would contribute to my account as long as I contributed that same percentage. Now, many people will tell you to max out your retirement accounts. That's probably good advice for someone starting out, especially if you live in a state with a very high income tax rate like New York or California. And if you're relatively new at this, I would definitely do that, because when you pay for this pre-tax, it comes out of your paycheck before income taxes are taken out. So you actually get to keep more money. And in case you're thinking, well, I don't know how to invest it, I have a easy thing for you. Most of these accounts will let you pick something called a target fund. Pick that. The target fund, just to give you a quick FYI, all that is the mutual fund company actually picks the funds for you. It's so easy. And then they automatically adjust it as you age or as the fund ages. So I always tell my new clients, pick a target fund, and then if you want to get fancy later, meaning like you want to like slice and dice your own mutual funds, you can go ahead and do that. But you also don't, because a target fund, they're so easy and they do such a great job. You do pay a little bit of an extra fee to pick a target fund, but you also don't have to think about it ever again. So that might be worth it for you. And lastly, think about what your third stream of income is going to be. Decide what it's going to be. So you might be asking, well, I don't know what it could be. It could just be more of, when I say more retirement accounts, what I mean by that is you can invest in a taxable brokerage account. That means it's outside of a retirement account, and so it's taxed a little differently. But many people will choose real estate. There's a reason why most rich people own real estate. There are passive and there are active ways to get involved. It's also taxed very favorably. And so many physicians end up investing in real estate. Or maybe you have a business idea. But I want you to just start thinking, what do I want to do for my third stream of income? And lastly, I recommend that you focus on one stream at a time. And I also, of course, recommend that you learn about money, that you spend time learning about it. It's important. It's a tool, and it's a tool that you can use to create the life that you want. Thank you.